So it is my great privilege to be joined by former Oklahoma head coach Bob Stoops, who has just joined Big Noon Kickoff. Rob, Reggie, Matt, and Brady are all returning Saturdays in the fall at 10 o'clock Eastern time. Coach, I got to ask right off top, why did you want to do this?
Well, RJ, good to be with you first. And you're doing a great job. And, well, you know, what got me, I've been out, initially I was asked immediately when I retired to be on multiple different networks, whether broadcasting or, games, live during games or, ahead of games. And quite honestly, when I stepped away, I was very truthful in that I just wanted my own time in my own space. So, and I politely said to him, if I wanted to work every weekend, I had a pretty good job. It paid a lot more than what they wanted to pay. So, but I just wasn't interested in working every weekend. I spent multiple Saturdays out on the golf course, when we had night games, things like that. But now being out 4 years, going on my fifth year, this seemed like a great opportunity. And I've had some of my own time, and it just seemed really exciting with the Fox team, with all these guys that you just named, are really professional, great guys, easy to be around. The network really wants to work with me because I'm still hesitant that I don't want to miss too many OU games, not only because of my son playing, but I'm still very attached to their success, and that, the fact that I just want them to do well, and I'm interested. So there's not a more interested fan than me. So anyhow, so all of that together, Fox wanting to work with me, all of it just came together in a really positive way. So I'm really excited about it.
You seem to have taken a little bit of time, and then you got right back into some things like being head coach again, right? I got my Dallas Renegades jersey over there. It's got my name on the back, and
right.
that was my team. But what did you learn from that time?
Well, I really enjoyed that professional side of it. I didn't have to worry about who missed class the day before, who's going to be suspended for missing class, or who didn't make their grades, or who missed study hall the day before, or, this, that, and the other. It was only football. That part of it I really enjoyed. Older guys, mature guys that really didn't have the, just understood football, easily. They've played a lot of football. Again, you didn't have off-field issues. It was really positive. And on top of it, a bunch of really good guys to work with, and that's what's fun. That's what you miss. Everyone asked me, what do I miss most about the coaching? It's the gang you hang around with every day. Not only the players, but you run around with, 10, 15 coaches too, that are all your buddies. And, it's like my wife said, she never worried about losing me to another woman. It was to the guys, just because all the gang of guys you're used to running around with. And then all of a sudden you don't have that. So, so it was fun, to work with all those guys in the XFL, bunch of great guys, professional guys.
Well, and it happens in the spring. So as you mentioned, being a part of OU and what they're doing is important to you. And one of the thrills as a fan is seeing you in the box. It looks like you're having a cup of water up there, watching your son play and watching the guy that you handpicked to basically take over your legacy. How do you feel in a box up there, not having any controls, but also not having to worry about what's going on?
It's become easier. It was really hard. The first year I said was just incredibly terrible. The second year was terrible, not incredibly. So little by little, it's gotten better. Truly, the first year I wanted to call down and remind somebody of something. And my wife grabs me and said, just sit down. I'm like, you're right. Just sit down. And anyway, so little by little, it's gotten easier. I'm fortunate. Joe Castiglione and our athletic department and our president, Joe Harris, give me somewhere to watch it safely, where I can enjoy it with my family and not be, I don't mean bothered. That's not the right way to say it, but it matters to me. I want to see every play. I want to see every situation. So I'm not up there just, in a conversation with somebody or to say hi to everybody. I'm want to watch the game, and they give me a good a great opportunity in a space to watch it in a really good way.
Nah, coach, that doesn't make you any different, I think, than most of us hardcore football fans. Like, I'm in my living room by myself. I don't want to be bothered. I want to watch the game. And
Exactly.
yeah, I'm going to participate in having things to say, but I'm not here to answer anybody's questions. I'm here to watch what happens next. But
Right.
you getting to watch what happens next means something a little bit more, right? I don't have any baby boys. I have 2 stepdaughters, right? And we have lots of conversations about what RJ does for a living is watch football. But for you, you have 2 boys that are very much a part of the program. And I want to lean into this, coach. One of them went from walk-on to earning a scholarship. What does that mean for you that Drake was able to do that for himself?
Well, he kiddingly said to his mother, he says, well, maybe dad doesn't have to work weekends and sell rock and roll tequila anymore. He's on scholarship. So, but no, you know what it does more than anything? He's worked really hard. There's no one more committed. There's other guys. We have a lot of committed guys, but he is one of them. And it just validates his hard work and commitment. How he's been playing the last several years. He's had significant minutes and he's made significant plays. So it's exciting for him, and again, I think as much as anything, it's just rewarding to him and that it validates all his hard work, so he's, and again, you love it. You love it that his teammates were so excited for him as well.
Well, we talked a little bit about him before we started taping, but what's Isaac doing?
Yeah. And Isaac is a student coach for OU, working on the defensive side of the ball, working with the defensive backs. So it's a great opportunity for him. There's, coaches around the country to be climbing over each other to try and get in those meetings or to get on the field with the Oklahoma coaches. So he's excited about it. He's loving it and learning a lot.
I see similarities between your boys and how you came up. And I want to take it all the way back to Youngstown. And, I'm doing research, preparing to talk with you. And I did not know that Bruce Springsteen wrote a song about your hometown. Did he get it right?
Sure he did. Yeah, it's just a blue-collar steel mill town, and it's gone through its tough times. Back in the day, we were, I think, just second to maybe Pittsburgh in the whole country in steel production, and all but one of the mills has been taken away, and so it's gone through its tough times, but it's still a great town. It still holds its own, and but he wrote about just this blue collar, the steel industry, the tough times that came. And but the people there are tough, and they keep scrapping and fighting and making their way. And I go back. I'm at that age where I got a niece or nephew getting married about every summer, and none of them get married in the fall, or none of the Stoops boys are coming. So anyway, I've been going back every summer, and I'll go back again this summer for a nephew's wedding, and it's great. I still got a great number of family there, but also great friendships that we've been forged through the years.
I was fortunate, and I think many OU fans in particular, but folks that love the sport are fortunate that you wrote a book called No Excuses about your career and how you were raised and where you were raised. And one of the things that I picked up from there is just how important football was, but also your family. And I had no idea until I picked up the book that you were the third of 6 children in a 3-bedroom house. Like, what was it like just trying to move around out there?
We didn't know. We didn't know any different. And in my neighborhood, everybody had large families. Once my neighbors to the one side had 5 kids. The neighbors to the next had 5. We had 6. But you didn't have to look. You didn't have to go far to get a football game out in the street, or to get a full baseball game. We might have 8-on-8, and you just made right fields an automatic out if you hit it to right field, so we had a lot of guys, and our street of guys, we would go 2-3 streets over and we'd play the other street in football, so we just, we grew up in a great area, and you're right. We had a small little home, but my dad, parents were fantastic parents, and we didn't know any different. And all the boys, 4 of us, all lived in 1 bedroom upstairs. And we would have a fight who had to sleep with our youngest brother, Mark, so we had two twin beds, and then one queen, and we had to draw straws who was going to sleep with Mark every night, the youngest. So, but we had fun. We'd have wrestling matches up there at night. After a while, my dad would have to come up and threaten to give us one, but usually, once in a while he did. And other times he'd come up and start laughing at what he saw going on in there, with four of us rolling around. And then, my sisters had shared a room downstairs and my parents downstairs, and that was it. But, small little A-frame home, but it was the best. We had a great neighborhood and a great family life. And my dad being not only a football coach, he was a defensive coordinator. He was the head baseball coach. In the winter, he would keep all the school's basketball games. He refereed intramural ball on the weekends. He played baseball all summer. So as a kid, I was on a ball field or a court my entire life. Anytime he'd go to a baseball game, we were allowed to go to his games. We'd be the bat boys for him, while he was playing. He played forever until he played. And then when he couldn't see the baseball anymore, he went to fast pitch softball, in his early 40s. And he played to the year he died, 54. He was still playing fast pitch softball. So my point, we were allowed to go. We were at baseball games, football practices, on the basketball court while he was refereeing other intramural games, so that's all we knew. And it was the best, it was a great way to grow up.
For those that don't know, Bob's father is Ron Stoops Sr. and defense coordinator at Cardinal Mooney, along with many other tasks that he performed. And I want to talk about him a little bit more, but I also want to just nail this. You were tough, man. All right. So I gotta quote you back to you. And I know sometimes that doesn't always make people feel good, but this is page 32 of your book. So I think we got it. I was feisty. You weren't going to intimidate me. You hit me with a 2x4. I'll go find a crowbar and hit you back. It was the Youngstown way. What is the Youngstown way, Coach?
Well, I don't, you fight. You scrap, you do whatever you got to do to succeed, and you don't take it from anybody. At the end of the day, and that's all of Youngstown. Let me tell you, you roll around Youngstown, and through our high school years, you didn't have to look far to find a fight somewhere. So we were in plenty of them, and our crew and different guys. But it just, it's just that way, and I'm for everything that's right. Mm-hmm. And but hard work, toughness, and you gotta go earn stuff, and that was how we were all taught and brought up to go get it, and no one's giving it to you, so that was just kind of ingrained in us.
No, and tip of the cap to you. We got Ray Boom Boom Mancini, had a WBA title, no big deal.
Yeah, he's a lightweight champ of the world for about 3 years.
Right. Saying, hey, you didn't want Bob in the hole. Like he used to hurt us. How does that feel?
Well, let me tell you this. No, Ray's, what people don't realize, maybe they do, but Ray, Boom Boom, mm-hmm. Mancini was a great athlete. He was a point guard on the basketball team, always, and then football, he was a DB and one of those scat back running backs, quick as all get out. And in baseball, my dad, even when he started getting serious in his through high school, he gave up, I think his sophomore year, football, basketball, baseball, because he was going to just concentrate on fighting. And he was in the Golden Gloves. We'd all go watch him. But my dad, being the head baseball coach, and Boom Boom's a neighbor of ours, lived in the same block. And my dad, was always knew what a great athlete. Whenever he had spare time, was in between fights or he wasn't training, boom, you want to come play? My dad had put him on the pitching mound or put him out in the outfield. He was a great hitter. He could pitch, left-handed pitcher. So my dad had let him play whenever, none of this, oh, you hadn't been here, you can't play. My dad is like, yeah, well, you want to play? Come on, I'll take you. So anyhow, when it came to the fights, every once in a while, we'd even pair up and box. And no one was fighting Ray.
Okay.
No. He knew what he was doing now. That guy, he was real. So great guy. and still run into him when I go home. I'll probably see him again, and he's doing really well living in Youngstown.
So your senior year, you're 17, right? You're driving a beat up pickup at the time. I think I got that right.
No,
And
I never had a pickup, but a bunch of beat up old cars, that's for sure.
Where were you looking to go to college until you got a call from Iowa?
I was Bowling Green had offered me in Youngstown State and Southern Illinois were the only three that really offered me. And then somewhere in that towards the end of recruiting, maybe before Iowa. Then Iowa offered me maybe with a month left in recruiting or a couple weeks. It was late in the process. And I think only because Bob Cummings, the head coach, was a Youngstown guy, was a couple of years older than my father. My father played with him at East High School. And I think he just gave me a chance. He and the coaches there, liked what I was doing and gave me an opportunity. The biggest break of my life, giving me a chance to go to Iowa. And then, funny story, maybe a week later after they offered, Bowling Green called and they withdrew their scholarship.
Wow.
The guy that was recruiting me was really great. I can't remember his name. I wish I did. A great guy. But he said the head coach thought I was too small. So I said, okay. My dad said not to worry. He's going to Iowa anyway. So it's okay. So anyway, it was the best, biggest break of my life, no doubt, going to Iowa.
When you got there, it wasn't exactly going well. As I got it, you witnessed 9 losses in 11 games.
Yeah, we were bad, and unfortunately, that staff all got let go. I think maybe with 1 or 2 games left in the year, the head coach was fired, and then it was. And not only that, were we a bad football team, then cultural difference between a blue collar steel mill town and East Ohio, eastern edge of Ohio, to go out to Iowa, you talk about a cultural shock. I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, man, I had never, been there 10 hours away. So all of that was really hard, really struggling. And, had to walk across, dress in the other dressing room and walk over to the games. I was redshirted that year, so it's understandable. But at the end, I went home and told my dad at Thanksgiving that I was going to transfer. And why I was going to transfer, this, that, and the other. I didn't tell him. I was just bringing it up that I think I should. Mm. And then I brought it up one too many times, and I can't tell you what he said to me on the air, but I guess I can. It's a podcast, right?
Yes, sir.
The bottom line is he threw his broom down, gave me a big talking to with some choice words, and turned around and walked away. And I was like, ooh, I guess I'm going back. I didn't know transfer in here. That's the last time I brought it up. So some choice words, some tough love. I went back and in the spring I earned a starting, job. Me and another guy, Luke King, still a dear friend of mine from New Jersey. We're fighting it out to be the free safety, and the first game or two, we split, half the game. And then after that, the third game on, I started for 4 years as a free safety for 2 years and then strong safety for 2 years. And Lou became a corner, starting all-American corner. And so anyway, had I left, who knows, where my life goes. But I sure wouldn't have had all the opportunities I've had if I had cut out of there. So my dad giving me some tough love went a long way. And I encourage parents out there, anyone listening, don't be afraid to give a little bit of tough love once in a while if you think it's necessary.
I say that parents are undefeated in recruiting, and many times I'm right? So they take an L every night. Nope.
The ones that are really undefeated are the girlfriends.
Okay. Okay. All right. Is there a story you could tell us?
Sadly, I've lost a few when the parents want them to come and then they didn't. But no, I can't. I'm never going to go there on personal with anybody. But you're right. They're both hard to beat, parents and girlfriends.
Well, I don't want to skip over this part of your story at Iowa because getting to Rose Bowls is a very big deal, especially at a place like Iowa. And it, for me, sets what I think is a trend of you going to programs that aren't used to winning or haven't had a whole lot of winning go on in their immediate past. And you're a part of flipping those places around, whether it's a player or a coach. And that seems to be true when you go to Kansas State, because I went back and read a couple of those Sports Illustrated articles, and I don't think I can really ascertain just how bad a state the program was in when Coach Snyder took it over and you were hired.
You can't.
Okay.
There's no describing it, how down our program was at Kansas State when Bill Snyder arrived. It was a time you're allowed to have maybe 90 scholarships at the time. I bet when we walked in that room in the spring, there were 35, 40 guys that were on scholarship. They had lost whole classes of recruits to off-field issues or to class issues. It was just really, really in poor shape. And it just, you can't really imagine it. And like you said, and then when I went to Iowa, they had 17 straight losing seasons. You know, not just not in the bowl game, 17 straight losing seasons when I arrived there. And anyway, our third year, I was a junior, redshirt junior. We are co-Big Ten champs with Ohio State. And of course, we hadn't been to the Rose Bowl in the longest time. So we got to go to the Rose Bowl, you know, my junior year, and was great. I mean, a lot of fun, great time. I mean, we beat Michigan State at home to earn, you know, the right to go to our last game of the year, snow covering the field. They had to plow the field, and we beat Michigan State soundly, like 31-7, and earned the right to go to the Rose Bowl. Fans storming down on the field, and roses everywhere, roses in the locker room. It was really cool. Really great to be a part of that.
And you're GA on that famous 1983 staff at Iowa. And then this is the part that I always get miffed about. You took a job at Kent State coaching outside linebackers. Is that right?
Yeah, I did. Yes.
So
I was 5 years as a graduate assistant, volunteer assistant at Iowa after playing. And, you know, all those great coaches I was around, Bill Snyder, not only Hayden Fry, but Bill Snyder, Barry Alvarez, Dan McCarney, Kirk Ferentz, you know, and several of the other guys ended up at smaller school head coaches. Those are all guys that, you know, had major Division 1A, you know, head coaching jobs, and just great to me too. They're all like brothers and uncles to me, you know, to this day. We all stay in touch, you know, in a really good way. But I didn't have my own guys to coach, and I didn't have a full-time job. I know my parents were wondering if I was ever going to get a full-time job. I was just making ends meet, painting houses in the summer, saving my money, trying to get by month to month. And then so Kent, Dick Crum gave me an opportunity to coach outside linebackers at Kent, which Kent is near Akron. It's only 45 minutes from my hometown of Youngstown. So it was great to go back there and be with Coach Crum, great man, bunch of good coaches there. And I was there 9 months. And then Bill Snyder got the job at Kansas State, and he called me to, you know, gave me a bigger role coaching the entire secondary. And of course, in the Big 8 at the time.
So pausing your journey here for just a second and talk about this lady from Cresco, Iowa, because she's a big part of this, as I understand it, going forward. And sidebar here, Big 12 Media Days 2014, I think it is. They're at the Omni Hotel, and there's also a Mary Kay convention going on. I think Coach knows where I'm going here. But as this Mary Kay convention is going on, we're getting into an elevator with a bunch of ladies, and the ladies are asking us what we're here for. We say we're covering Big 12 Media Days, and it's like, is there any in particular team that you guys cover? It's like, yeah, we cover Oklahoma. Do you know Carol Stoops' husband?
That's right.
Right.
You got it. No, she's of course we met at Iowa. I was a few years older than her, but we actually met, and I was on my way home for the summer, not knowing if I was going to come back and be a graduate assistant or not. They hadn't decided yet whether, you know, had room for me or not. And I just said, look, if I come back, I'll make sure I give you a call and maybe we can go out. And we did. So I came back, was a graduate assistant. Of course, didn't wait too long, gave her a call, and we started dating. 5 years later, we were married. So we got married right before I was going to Kent. And then, of course, journeyed to Manhattan, Kansas. She was a teacher, a teacher and math teacher. And then she got into Mary Kay and worked her way up to being a national sales director for her last 10 years that she was with the company. And an incredible company, just for women, for her family, for us. I mean, she drove a free Cadillac. She got a new free Cadillac every 2 years and insurance every 2 years for 20 years. That'll help a family income or a assistant coach's salary. So in the end, and like I said, her last 10 years, she was a national director, which is their top position, and just a fabulous company. So it was great for her, great for our family.
I share this with Coach, but for those of y'all that don't know, my first full-time job in sports was covering University of Oklahoma football. And one of my favorite memories along with this is Coach Stoops pulling up in a pink Cadillac and looking at the media corps going, "You guys got a problem? What we got to talk about this? I don't think we got to talk about this." No, sir. No, sir, we don't.
I'm pretty secure in my masculinity.
Well, hey, look, I've known enough women who have worked in that organization to know what that pink Cadillac represents, right? And for us, it might as well be a Heisman Trophy, right? It might as well be an All-America honor. So I don't want to gloss over it as if it's just a funny story. It's a tremendous achievement, and not everybody gets it. Coach, I want to get back into your coaching journey. You're at Manhattan. You're having some success. You recruit this junior college linebacker out of Garden City by the name of Brent Venables. Turns out to be pretty good. When did you figure that you were going to be good as a defensive coordinator, let alone aspirations of being a head coach?
Well, we started to have so much success defensively there at Kansas State. Jim Leavitt and I, Jim Leavitt is, the defensive coordinator now at SMU. Mm-hmm. He was, anyway, Jim's been a head coach, has been at Colorado, been at Oregon, but Jim and I were co-coordinators together. And really in my last year together with he and I, we led the nation in total defense. And I think by one point we were second in scoring defense. And the years leading up to that, we started to really hold people down, give people trouble. And we were one of the first people to get up and crowd everybody. We were bumping and running from it. It looked like punt block. There'd be 10 guys up there on everybody's nose and one guy back. And we'd even have our linebackers halfway into blitz or not. And so we were the first ones to apply pressure like we did, to get up and crowd every receiver. And we had the guys to do it. We recruited well and had secondary guys that could really bump and run. And in those days, the offenses hadn't caught up to it yet, how to deal with all the bump and run. So for several years there, we led the Big Eight, and we were in the top, few in the country in defense almost every, for the last probably 3-4 years that we were, there at Kansas State. And that's when, then Coach Spurrier called me.
Hey, Coach, I want to jump in there because it's an interesting note to me, because there's an assistant coach at Oklahoma State, and I called it this gambit, and I can't remember his name. Do you? The assistant coach that Steve Spurrier was saying that he was.
It was Lawson Holland.
Thank you, sir.
He had been an assistant coach at Oklahoma State, and I had known Lawson from going on some golf trips that assistant coaches went on. So Coach Spurrier couldn't get through to me. No one would ever patch him through to me. So he said he was Lawson Holland, and that he wanted to talk to me. But he came clean as soon as I got on the phone. He goes, "Well, Bobby, I got to tell you, I don't want to be truthful here." He goes, "I had to do whatever I could to get a hold of you." So he goes, "I said I was Lawson Holland." Anyway, and I didn't believe him at first. He said, "This is Steve Spurrier," and I'm kind of quiet. I'm like, this is one of my buddies playing some kind of joke on me or something. then the more he talked, I'd heard him enough on TV. I didn't know Coach at all. Mm-hmm. I said, this really is Steve Spurrier, and I'm not one of those guys who chases jobs. I didn't even know they had a job open, so, we talked for probably 20, 30 minutes. He called me the next day. We talked again. He left me a voicemail at home, and my wife, she hears it. She goes, is that the Steve Spurrier? I go, yeah. I go, you and I need to talk tonight. There's this is about to happen. And then anyhow, we worked it out. It was great. And, that was another huge break for me. We remain, coaches like family. He and Jerry, his wife, they're like family to Carol and I. And, very close to this day. And in fact, here in a couple of weeks, I got to go on a golf trip to Pebble Beach with them here in a couple of weeks. So
you got to go, huh? You got to go play Pebble Beach, huh?
Yeah, and we catch up in Florida quite a bit too. We have places there. I got a place there by Coach on the beach. So anyway, I was and I emulated about everything we did at Oklahoma. I copied off of what we were doing, what Coach Spurrier was doing at Florida, and we're a lot alike personality wise too. So it really helped me to be around him, to realize I could be the way I am and still have success at the highest level. Some people, so go ahead.
No, that was what I wanted to stress there, is like, it felt to me, just reading your story, that you found it was okay to be Bob as opposed to being anybody else. That's right.
And I'm not one of those that, that I don't have to tell everybody how late I was at the office. At the end of the day, if I figured it out by 9 o'clock, why can't I go home at 9 p.m. instead of 12 p.m.? 12, at night. So at the end of the day, why, we did what we needed to do. And I always felt confident in what we were doing, and still worked hard at it, but also found a way to have fun and include our families while we did it. We had our families around a lot, had a lot of fun, laughed with any chance I could, let the players laugh at me whenever they could, so it isn't just about winning. I was able to have fun and enjoy it while I did it as well.
So jumping forward to Oklahoma, but also the process of getting to Oklahoma, because as I understand it, you had a near miss with Minnesota and you had a near miss with Iowa, but it felt like Oklahoma was smart in that they scheduled the interview before they scheduled you scheduled the one with Iowa, because it feels like if Iowa would have got in there first with, at the time, I think the athletic director is Bob Bowlesby, who's also the Big 12 commissioner today, you might have been going home.
It was to be considered. Fortunately, the way it all worked out for everybody, because Kirk Ferentz is a great coach, and again, a very close and great friend of mine. And I'm glad he's done so well at Iowa, and I had success here at Oklahoma. So at the end of the day, Iowa never offered me a job. So I only had one job. How you say your prayers going into the interviews, and my prayers were, Lord, because it's Iowa and I have such a sentimental attachment there, please give me, give me the right signals that, that I'll do what's best for my family moving forward. My wife, Carol, and my family, and what'll be the best for all of us going forward. And I come out of the interview without an offer. He didn't trust me to make a choice between the two. The good Lord, he said, this guy can't figure it out. Oklahoma. So I only had one job to take. And fortunately, it was a great one. And I knew it was. I knew Oklahoma, though they had 5, really poor years. And it was in disarray when we got here. It really was. I said, this still is a sleeping giant. There's no way this should be this way. And if we do things the right way, we'll win. And so anyhow, that fortunately through those interviews, it all worked out. And then the Minnesota one too I was an assistant at Florida the year before I took the Oklahoma job. And no, it was after my first year in '96. We won the national championship at Florida. And Coach just said to me, look, if it isn't just perfect for you, he goes, we're not going bad. You're young. I was only 30, probably 5 at the time. He said, you're going to have more opportunities. Wait for the right one. And I really had it in my heart. I didn't want to leave yet. I wanted to be around the program more, learn more from Coach Spurrier and how we were doing things. So I wasn't anxious to just take a head coaching job. And fortunately, I waited for the right one.
And I got to get a dig in here at Texas, because apparently there was this wild rumor that you were going to be the defense coordinator for Mac Brown, and you had to talk everybody but Coach Spurrier off a ledge about, I don't know the first thing about what they're doing in Texas. I don't even know why they're talking my name up.
So I come back from a recruiting trip, and my wife looks at me and she says, I can't believe you didn't tell me. She goes, well, I go, what do you mean? I go, how could you not, talk to me about this? It was just on, she goes, I go, what do you mean? She goes, you're going to take the defensive coordinator job at Texas with your good friend, Mac Brown. She goes, it was just on TV. I just watched it. I said, watched what? I go, you saw a guy saying I was I go, I haven't even talked to Texas. I go, they hired a guy. I go, I don't even know Mac Brown. I don't know Mac Brown. My good friend, Mac Brown. I go, the whole story's crazy, So it wasn't. So she finally realizes that it's all made up. And then Coach Spurrier calls me, and he's in Tampa recruiting with another coach. He says, hey, Bobby, I hear you're going to Texas with your good buddy, Mac Brown. And he's laughing about it. Of course, I don't have to convince him it's all fake. He'd been around enough to know how much stuff said about him that isn't true. And so that was maybe my wife's first realization that everything you hear or see isn't always true. In fact, often isn't, when it comes to these kind of rumors anyway.
So you accept the job at Oklahoma, and you had never actually stepped foot on campus as head coach before taking the job. Like you coached against them. And I think the last time you were in Norman, you got a W with Kansas State when they were really humming along, and then Coach Snyder would do that again. But the reason I point that out is you were having to put together a staff on the fly for the first time. What was that process like for you? Because I don't think we appreciate how difficult it is to find 9-10 guys you trust.
Oh, it was really, I was smart that I took my time and got the right guys, because I started off with I always had great staffs, but to hit it out of the park in your first one, that's a big deal. And so it was difficult. I was spinning that first month, and I was hired December 1, and we had like 3 weeks before Christmas break, and then you're not allowed to be on the road recruiting. So we had they left us not one bit of recruiting information anywhere, no commitments, not one bit, not a board, zero. So I'm hiring coaches, trying to recruit, get in the door with recruits here in Oklahoma and Texas, and I'm just swimming. And first guy I hired is Bobby Jack Wright. And I didn't know Bobby Jack, but my brother Mike knew him. And I had already reached an agreement, which was key to me, that my brother Mike and Brent Venables were coming with me. And they were going to run our defense that I was used to, and then Mark Mangino was going to come as the line coach. And so I had those three right off the bat. And then I called Bobby, but they were still coaching at Kansas State and had to finish the year. So they're not with me. So I called Bobby Jack Wright. I want to hire you. I don't even know what position you're going to coach, because Bobby's coached offense and defense, and he's one of those guys with all his experience. He's coached a bunch of spots. Because I said, I don't know how it'll all play out with the guys I want to hire. So I said, how fast can you get here? He said, this was at night when I talked to him. He goes, I'll be in that car at 5 a.m. and I'll be driving up. He was there that mid-morning from Austin, Texas at the time. And we pulled every paper we could find, every, internet, everything we could scour to start putting names on the board. And he knew Texas, Bobby Jack was recruited Texas his whole life. He can go anywhere in Texas. He doesn't, to every high school, never pull out a map, never look for directions. So we sent him out, or we got our board together, and he and I just started piling, diving into it. Then I hired guys like Jonathan Hayes, was cutting horses in Oklahoma City. Big Jonathan, that poor horse, Jonathan, 6'6", 70, 65. But Jonathan was able to come right away. He was living in Kansas City, he played for the Chiefs for 12, 13 years as a tight end. I hired Jonathan as a tight end, and little by little, it just started piecing together. But it was, I was swimming, just trying to hire coaches and get in the door with recruits, to start.
Two coaches that stand out for me. The first one is Schmitty, Jerry Schmidt, to the folks that are uninitiated, because he was at Florida, and that felt like a tremendous win for you.
It was huge.
Okay.
We were good friends, and at Florida, really tight. But I never thought he'd leave Florida. But the reason he asked me, he goes, Bob, he goes, look, my parents live right here in Nebraska, and his wife's parents are right here in Texas. He goes, it's right between the two of them. It's perfect. I said, well, I never thought of that. You think of families. So anyway, that was a big get. Smitty came, and I mean, he came right away. He came within a week, and we at night we'd be getting our recruiting board. We'd have Smitty up on the board with the grease pen, and we'd be firing names at him, and this position, that position, where they were located. And Smitty was huge, though, in getting us going.
The other for me is Coach Leach, who is his own character altogether. But I'm interested, as a defensive coordinator, what were you thinking in trying to hire the offense coordinator at Kentucky?
Well, here's how it started. First guy I tried to hire was Turner Gill. I was trying to hire Turner at the time away from Nebraska to be our offensive coordinator. I wanted to run an offense similar to what Nebraska was doing. And Turner really thought about it for a long time, thought he was going to do it, and then he couldn't do it. He said, nah, he turned me down. And then I remember Kevin Rogers, a longtime successful guy at like Syracuse, and Kevin's also been a head coach and been a coordinator. And he was running, the Syracuse offense, which had some option in it as well as throwing. And then couldn't work it out with Kevin. And then I got to thinking, the team that always bothered me the most at Florida, drove me crazy, was Kentucky. And I knew I couldn't hire Hal Mumme, the head coach. He's not going to leave the head coaching job. So I knew, then I got to researching Mike, and I just knew him from saying hi to him before games, and he was a good guy. And I just thought, I looked at Mike's history, and he'd been with Hal. He knew this offense up and down. He'd been with him forever. So I called Hal and I said, could Mike Leach be in front of the team, command the respect, be the leader, and do the things you do, with your offense? He goes, absolutely. I goes, seriously, he goes, I don't hesitate at all, Bob. And he was right. Mike's a great guy, great coach, leads in a different way, but his guys play and perform. And he was perfect for us. Right off the bat, he had all that history with Tim Couch and throwing the ball. So quarterbacks, all of a sudden now, we couldn't get one to look at us. Now they're all want to come. So in that first, I hired Mike. Nate Hibble transfers here. Jason White changes his commitment from going to Miami down in Florida to staying home and here. And the third one is Jay White, Nate Hibble, and
Roy Williams.
No, I'm quarterbacks.
Quarterbacks. Oh goodness. Heupel?
Yeah.
Okay.
The one who wins the national championship. Well, I always said, even though maybe talent-wise, Josh may not be the number one of all my guys, he's definitely the most valuable player I ever recruited. When you look at his impact in those first 2 years and going undefeated, winning the national championship. So we get Heupel, who's won all kind of national awards and was runner-up in the Heisman Trophy. Then you got Jay White, who's the most decorated player in Oklahoma history when you look at all his awards that he's won and a Heisman. And Nate Hibble wins a Big 12 championship and is a Rose Bowl MVP. All of those guys came at the same time. So that's but it was because we hired Mike Leach, as you started this whole conversation off, with or this part of the conversation.
Well, Coach, I know we're nearing the end, and I appreciate you giving us this much time, and I appreciate you because I don't care about this team unless y'all had accomplished what y'all accomplished over those 18 years in the way that I care about this team. But I need to ask you, June 7th, 2017 is going to go down in our history as a very big deal. But how did you know Lincoln was going to be the guy and he was going to be this good right away?
Oh, I knew it. I just working side by side with him for 3 years, I knew first, I knew matters to me is he's the person he is, the family man he is, the person he is, all those characteristics that make great men. And then the leader he is, and then, just the intelligence on top of it all. So I never would have done it had I not felt it was the right guy at the right time. And that, this is perfect for me to step out and not hurt the program whatsoever. Because you look around the country when people step out, it's not always, things don't always just continue, because we've seen it here. We've seen it. You look all over the place. But I knew strongly that, Lincoln was the right guy in all the ways as a leader, and all. And then, and then there was support around him was strong, like all of it together, just keep it going and improve it. We all try and do our little wrinkles, and as you should, and times change, rules change. You got to keep up with them. And he has and does. And so and he knows all I want is, I hope he obliterates any records I got. I don't care about all that. I just want to see us continue to win, and we will. Lincoln's going to always do it the right way and do it well, and he'll always have good people around him to do it that way.
Coach Bob Stoops, who is my coach. I had to hear about folks who got to see Coach Switzer do what he did, and he's a legend. I got to hear folks who saw Bud do what he did, and he's a legend. And Coach, you're mine. And I'm grateful that the kids following me have Lincoln to look forward to. I'm grateful for the way that you took over the program, the way you left the program. And I can't wait to watch you Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern time on Big Noon Kickoff with Rob, Reggie, Matt, and Brady. Thank you so much for your time, Coach.
I appreciate it, RJ. Great being with you here today. I'll make sure I'm watching. I'll be watching you every day now from now on.